welcome to another episode of Millennials in Ministry. I have my sister live in person with me this time, not in another room across the way or whatever. We've been having too many technical difficulties to try to trip with it today, so we're just gonna do it face to face with you. Is that cool? So with this episode, I'm excited because Ericka has been ranting and raving about this book called "I'm Still Here" by Austin Channing Brown. Austin Channing Brown. She has like two last names, I guess. And she loves this book.
Yeah.
And what's the subtitle?
Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness.
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this book, number one, Ericka's so passionate about it. Two, she keeps talking about it. Three, she's married to a white man that we love and adore. Four, with all of those variables in place, what are her thoughts? Why do you like this book? Why should I read it? Because I have not read it. I plan on reading it.
Yeah.
You know, you probably haven't read it. So I wanted to have this interview to say, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Why are we reading this book?
Yeah. Well, before we get into that, thanks for having me for the second time, Millennials in Ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I just like to sort of frame conversations that I have about maybe hot button topics. And I just want to say that I'm approaching this from a position of, excuse me.
Hello?
I know, words today are hard. Woo! I'm approaching this from a position that white privilege is real, and racial tensions happen every day. There are racial things that happen in our country, in our society every day, and it's real. Racial biases, I should say, specifically. So I understand that some people don't come from that place, and there might be people that are listening. You may know people that don't believe that white privilege is real, and they're like, what are you talking about? But I would just encourage people to check their empathy meter, and whenever you're having conversations with people that are not like you and have different experiences than you, then I really, encourage us all to just like take a step back and check in. Like, don't be moved by fear. This is not a battlefield. This is conversations. I'm talking about my own personal experiences, and things that I've seen and witnessed, and then also what I enjoyed about Austin's words. So I just want to sort of framework the conversation before we get into it.
Okay, cool. So first question's up. What do you enjoy most about the book? What are your favorite parts about the book?
Well, it's just real and raw, and Austin don't mince words.
Okay.
All right. So first off, let me just read to you some of her title chapters. First thing, right off the gate, white people are exhausting. Okay, we jumping in. Not no little like approaching. We just going deep in.
Right.
Love that. Ain't no friends here. Whiteness at work. Why I love being a black girl. White fragility. Nice white people. Creative anger. The story we tell. So right off the bat, she just has me in the catching of these chapters. And then I love her experience. So she talks a lot about growing up in a white, not super rich, not super poor, but just like a middle America place. And I think that's something that we can say we sort of grew up in, where you're used to being one of the only black people, if not the only black people person.
What's up, Jolie? What's up,
Hey. So I think I appreciate that. I saw myself, and sometimes in society, I don't see myself a lot. I think there's an upward trend of that, which I'm super grateful for. But I think in years gone by, it is not common for us to see ourselves in society.
Right.
And so I saw myself in this book, and I was immediately drawn to it. I was just like, oh.
Yeah. Well, why don't you read like something that you liked? Read a paragraph or something.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really loved.
Give us an idea of what it's about.
There's so many good things. Okay, I want to read this.
She has all these notes and underlines in this book.
Clearly I didn't like the book. You can't see it, but there's like notes upon notes upon notes. So in the first chapter, white people are exhausting. She just says it, y'all, like that. I'm like, but she just said it. But one thing I love, she says is, white people who expect me to be white have not yet realized that their cultural way of being is not in fact the result of goodness, righteousness, or God's blessing. Pushing back and resisting that lie is hella work.
On the margin, she wrote, hello? Hello. Wow.
It's work to be the only person of color in an organization. And it was something we just alluded to. oftentimes our white brothers and sisters, you might not know what it's like to walk into a room and realize, oh, there's no one else that looks like me.
Yeah.
And I think that she's bringing to light that very real thing that we go through all of the time.
Yeah, so much so that I've personally just learned to ignore it.
Oh yeah.
I've literally I don't see color because I've taught myself not to see it because it's easier not to see it. It's easier just to relate to just people and ignore culture and color because it's easier.
Because if you paid attention to every microaggression and addressed every microaggression, so there's macro and there's microaggressions. If you address every microaggression that you come up against every day,
you're not gonna get it.
You're not gonna make it.
Right.
You're not going to make it. Let me
Right.
help you, because there's things people say or they look or just insinuated things, and so I think it's a protective mechanism, and
Yeah.
I think it's human. But I love what she says. Bearing the weight of all your white coworkers' questions about blackness. It's work to always be hyper visible because of your skin. I love that sentence, you guys, because just think about it. When we walk into a room, people see us immediately. And she goes on to say, easily identified as being present or absent, but for your needs to be completely invisible to those around you. So on one hand, people can see you, but on the other hand, they don't quite know your needs. She kins it to this in another part of the book that I love. She's talking about when she went to university, went to school. She's talking about one of her university directors was giving some story and was talking about, yeah, you know how on the weekend you go to the lake and you ski or you snowboard over winter break, or you go to your summer house. And she's like, hello? I ain't got no summer house. But that just goes to show you the way sometimes people think is that they don't understand that other people have had other experiences.
Yeah. Or that their normal is normal.
Right. And so, anyway, going back to this saying that our needs sometimes can be invisible. So just the fact of being able to relate, someone assuming, I love that, someone assuming that you can relate to that, maybe you can. Like, I can't relate to that.
Right. So what I love about having you talk about this book on this show is because, one, you're my sister, two, you're black, obviously. Three,
Melanin pumping.
Three, you married a white man, chose him.
Yeah.
And race is so important to you. So as a black woman who married a white man, why is race so important to you? Or how do you view race in different culture in your personal place of life?
Well, I think, sort of like you said before, that whole sticking your head in the ground because it hurts too much to see it or acknowledge it. And there are some brave and beautiful souls that have been on the front lines of racial reconciliation and fighting that fight for a while. But I think I personally got caught up in the land of just trying to make it.
Right.
And so not really seeing it, not really acknowledging it to assent, because I've always been one of the, a minority in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
So I think, when Stephen and I started to date and we met, there was this real thing where he, as a foreigner, he's not from America. He doesn't understand our racial history. Case in point, he took me to see Selma, the movie about Martin Luther King Jr. for our first date.
He didn't know.
He didn't know, guys. And I'm like, bruh, are we doing this right now? I don't even know you like that. And I mean, it was just, but he thought it was a horror film about a girl named Selma.
Right.
And that's because he's not from here and they don't have that same thing over there. So that's, So just giving you an idea of where he's coming from. So then us coming together, he's coming over here and we're together and he's like, did you see that? Did you hear what that person said? Like, so he's bringing me up. And at first I was like rearing and I was like, brah, like, I'm not trying to feel that. I already done this. I'm about to be 30. I'm trying to like live my life.
Right.
But I realized in reflection, and I think the Holy Spirit just really revealing that to me, was that he was my safe white person. That someone that my constant, my buddy, my pal, that could help me reimagine what racial reconciliation could be like with a white person, and letting me feel safe enough to have those dialogues and be honest. And he doesn't appropriate, he appreciates in every sense of the word. And so he appreciates my black features, like my bigger nose and my hair, and he loves it. And I think, and it's not a joke to him, there's no there's nothing sneaky underneath it. It's
Yeah.
not critical. It's just honest. And so, he's my safe white person to like reimagine what this could be with, and I'm his safe black person. He feels
Yeah.
safe to ask me those questions and to do that dive with me. And we've had some really great conversations. And I've told you this before. Race has not been a huge thing for us in our person because it's not something that we struggle with as a couple. Let me say that. We don't have a lot of arguments about racial things with each other. That we just get along. Our connection is deeper than race, right? At the same time, we don't play those reindeer games called I don't see color. You guys, that's a game. It's a lie, and Jesus is not in that at all. Because
why do you say that?
Because although he is an immigrant, he's from Ireland. He is a white heterosexual male. So in the eyes of the United States, he is at the top of the food chain.
Sure.
And I am a black heterosexual female, and I'm not at the top.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to pretend like I'm at the bottom, but I ain't at the top.
Right.
So it would behoove us. I don't know if that's the right word, Lord.
Yeah.
But it would not be wise for us to pretend like that those are not differences that we have to deal with, right? In our marriage, we're equals, we're teammates, we're partners, but when we go in society, we are not equal in the eyes of society. We aren't. And so I think our job that we've done and are working on our 1.5 years of marriage, 3 years of dating, knowing each other, is to support each other and help each other in those different environments. So when we're at home supporting each other, but also when we're out in society, like I don't be driving in the South when we're doing road trips. I don't do it, y'all.
Right.
But he does. And so I think there is that honesty that you have. Color is color. So it's a lie.
Yeah.
To the no color thing.
So here's another perspective. Obviously, you're super passionate about this topic. I wouldn't say that I'm not. I just don't feel it as deeply as you do. But I respect that because I feel like I'm learning a lot from you in addition to digesting my own perspectives and perceptions and why I have those and this, that, or the other. With that in mind, one reason why angry black people make me feel uncomfortable is because I have this other side of my brain that's like, but Jesus was a minority, but Jesus was also an immigrant, and they murdered him, and they beat him, and they put him on a cross, and his response to the people that hurt him was way different than how some of us as black people feel like we have to respond in order to get our message across. So it's like, but still, I don't want to negate the fact that I'm black or not even have black pride in the sense of my culture.
And feel the feeling of the injustices that happen every day.
Correct. So it's like this battle between, it's like this battle between ignoring, accepting, and then understanding. Like ignore. It's almost like,
I like those words.
In my mind, it's almost like you have to like. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. Just hear
Conversation.
It's almost like I have to ignore at times how people feel and how they respond in order to accept what I've seen Jesus do. But I don't think that that's right or wrong either. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just my own process and like.
Well, I have an opinion.
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted you to show up, because I know. And I know that your opinion isn't right. It's not like law. You know what I mean? This is just my opinion. It's just what it is.
Well,
so
here's where I come out.
Yeah, it's like
think. Jesus, he flipped the tables over.
He did.
He called someone a white snake. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And I think that Christians a lot of times we are afraid of the emotion of anger.
I would agree with that. Because then you're not like a Christian.
Right, you haven't really received the joy of the Lord. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's a lie, and Jesus is not in it.
Right.
So I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a yes and. Also, we're not Jesus. I was not called to die on the cross. So I think the idea that I in some way am going to be living a perfect life like Jesus was is false. Yes, he lives in me, and in that, I'm living and breathing and acting in a way that I believe is right. but also I'm not going to be perfect. I do feel things, and I think Jesus, he did stick up for the orphan and the widow and the poor.
Yeah.
And who are the orphaned and the widowed and the poor in America?
Right.
Most often it's black and brown bodies.
Yeah. Minorities.
Now hear me, my white brothers and sisters. Okay. There are white people that are orphaned and widowed and poor. Yes.
Sure,
but if you look at the totality of the United States of America,
the majority
of those that are incarcerated, that are orphaned, that are poor, that are in poverty are black and brown people. And so I think that there has to be acknowledgement of that. And something that we talked about earlier a little bit was, I think sometimes we try to meld the American history with a Christian history. I think that those two lines have become blurred in the Christian faith, and that's not true. Because honestly, I'm gonna say something that might rough your feathers up. Get ready, get your tissues out. But I don't think that that the United States was necessarily founded upon Christian values.
Explain that.
So, is it Christian to kill indigenous people and take their land? Is it Christian to take people from their homeland, put them on ships, they have no way of getting off, there's not good food, good water, they're sitting their own sewage essentially, bring them to the land and build this nation on the backs of their bodies? Is that Christian? Is that Jesus? Is that godly?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying the people that started the country didn't have faith.
Right.
I'm not trying to come at that, but I don't know that we can just blanket that and say this was founded on Christian principles and we are a Christian nation, because I have not seen the love of Jesus. And I think a lot of times, now here's where it gets twisted, is that people have used the name of Jesus to perpetuate ideas and false ideologies, and also bring about a lot of harmful policies, a lot of harmful actions. I mean, you guys, they hung black bodies from trees, and white families came and took pictures in front of the trees to send us postcards. Sorry we missed you at the barbecue. This is real.
Wow.
And she mentions this in her book, Austin.
Wow.
This is real. And so I think let us not pretend like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is this. These are the facts.
Yeah.
I'm still mad about Hidden Figures.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How do we not learn about that in our history books?
Right.
About black women sending men to the moon. Like, how do we miss that?
And I love that thought of meshing Americanism, if that's a word, with Christianity.
Maybe a word. Yeah.
Like, because as American Christians, we see it as one. But if you look at people who are Christians in other countries, it's not Americanized. There's Americanized Christianity instead of just Christianity.
And it's so dangerous because it's so like this that you have to like do the dirty work of like parsing that.
Yes. Of undoing
and
it.
it's hard. It's super hard work. Uncomfortable work.
Yeah.
But it has to be done.
I told a friend of mine at church the other day, I was like, this whole conversation of immigration that's happening right now. I was like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to say like 10 years, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 50 to 100 years, if Americans were the immigrants and if the tables were turned and we had to flee America and we became the immigrants, what we would be experiencing
help us all
is so radically different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and that's where that upping your empathy meter steps into play.
Yeah.
We have to step into other people's shoes, really.
Yeah.
In our minds, we like to think we are like,
that's
empathetic. It's like, go ahead.
I was like, putting ourselves in other people's shoes is truthfully the only way we can treat them the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the way that God would want us to treat them.
Because otherwise, you're coming at it through a judgmental lens.
It's always filtered.
It's always going to be filtered until you. And sometimes that happens in real life, and sometimes if hopefully you're wise enough and emotionally intelligent enough to actually put yourself there with actually having to be there.
Right.
Like, I pray that people are receptive to people that are immigrating without actually having to flee themselves.
Yeah.
I pray that people are receptive to the mothers and babies being ripped apart without them actually having to be ripped apart from their children.
Right. That's why the scripture says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Before it happens to you, do is unto
Right.
them.
Jesus be a witness.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Really good thoughts.
Yeah.
Very
so
good
that's,
thoughts.
yeah. Those are my thoughts on that.
I love that. And moving on, so with all that you've learned from this book, again, it's I'm Still Here by Austin Channing Brown. She has 2 last names, supposedly.
She's amazing. Austin, if you ever watch this and you come to Phoenix, I'm just going to be so excited because we moved from Chicago, my husband and I, and you did something in Chicago right after we moved, and I was like, oh, but everyone said it was amazing. I'll be. Anyway, continue. Sorry, I had to put that in there.
I forgot what I was going to say.
You were going to say her book. I think you were going to ask, like, what
was yeah. So with all that you've learned from the book, Bluetooth, as says, with all that you've learned from the book, and also just everything you're learning about culture and respecting race, your race, all races, what do you hope that people of all races would just understand?
Yeah. So I think I would hope for my white brothers and sisters, because I have a lot of white friends. I'm married to a white man. We love white people.
It sounds weird to say, but truthfully.
But I think I would challenge them to step into their empathy, to up their empathy game, and really, and to step out of fear, because I think a lot of times the conversation is met with fear because people believe that if you have more, then I have less. And I don't believe that to be true at all.
Wow.
And so I think that whether they're acknowledging it or not, it comes from a place of you have more, I have less. Well, if you get that, then and that's perpetuated by the media and social and all that kind of stuff. But I would just encourage you, challenge you, ask you sincerely to just step into empathy and really try to imagine people that are not like you. Get some friends that are not like you, and not just the token black friend. Like, actually, you be the minority. Go to a place where you're the minority and see how that feels. Really sit in that, because it's uncomfortable, guys. It really is, to hold that weight. And you will catch a glimpse of what black and brown people go through all the time.
Sure. That's really good.
Yeah, and for my black and brown friends, compadres, people, I would just say, again, turn that empathy backwards to them. You know, people that don't know your struggle, I think it can be hard, but also to not be afraid of anger and sadness. One of my favorites, Sister Glennon, she always says, there is no rising without the fall. There is no resurrection without the crucifixion. Yeah. So there is no high top, no joy without the pain. And so I think we have to sit in the pain of what was done to our ancestors, and I believe that stuff travels down. So you might be feeling anger or hurt, that you're like, well, why is this? I don't know where this comes from. I would say just really lean into that a little bit, and get to know that and not be afraid of it, and read Austin's book.
I love this. I want to give a few shout outs. Emily, what's up? Lindsay, the Faith Feast. Tifty Mess 2. Hi. Kiera, what's up? Jolie, Jeremiah, Frida, Danny, Stephanie, Dan Geraci. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Everyone read this book. It's a book. I cried through it, but it was a good cry. It's like really good to just be faced with what is and what isn't, and to hear someone's story, and for me to identify with it, and it's helped me along my journey of racial.
Tell people, because you and Stefan have started a series of episodes on IGTV about your marriage, interracial marriage, and relationships. So how can they stay in touch with you guys and follow you as you're sharing different things you're learning in your process?
Well, I'm Ericka B. Byrne, Ericka B. Byrne, Byrne, at Ericka B. Byrne. Those are my symbols for Instagram, for Facebook, Twitter. So follow me on that. On my IGTV, Stefan, my husband, Stefan Byrne, he is that Irish guy 92. We are doing some videos just about our relationship, how we met, things that people ask interracial couples typically. If you have questions or comments or want us to talk about something, please direct message me. I would love that. Stefan's got some YouTube stuff he's going up with football. He loves it, aka soccer. And I'm writing, dancing, always staying creative with this one. So follow our journey.
Yes. Cool.
That's it.
Well, thanks for joining us, Ericka, on Millennials in Ministry, live and in person.
I know.
Not split screen this time. Technical difficulties, folks. Technical witness. All right, until
Instagram,
next time.
we still love you.
We still love you, Instagram. All right, until next time, guys. See you later.
Bye.